Hello, everyone. Welcome to Elite Weather. My name is Mr. G, your meteorologist. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you guys had a good day on your Thursday. Now you've made it to the end of the school and work week. I'm going to let you know what to expect as far as the weather is concerned. And we're going to start off with California tonight and taking a look at the latest storm that's going to be bringing heavy rain across Northern California, primarily Central and Northern California. I think it's going to be at the brunt of this storm, and we're going to be seeing several more inches of rain down here across the Bay Area, and we're going to be seeing more snow up there across the Sierra Nevada. Now, this storm is a little bit warmer than some of the other storms, so the snow levels are quite a bit higher, so we're going to be seeing that rainfall go further up the side of the mountain. So it's going to increase our risk for flash flooding, as we're going to be seeing some snow melting as well. So with this warmer storm, so we're going to be seeing heavy rain and again heavy snow. We still expect about 8 feet of snow across the higher elevations of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. So unfortunately, that snow is going to continue. If you're a ski resort, it's great for you guys, but you're starting to see some signs of some significant melting out there that's going to be leading to a lot of flash flooding concerns. And we're going to take a closer look at that flash flood threat across California. And we're going to be seeing some extreme situations here across Central and Northern California in the Sierra Nevada as we're getting a lot of snowing. We're seeing some of that snow down to about 3,000 feet. So that 3,000 to 7,000 foot range, we're going to be seeing a lot of melting taking place as this storm is going to be warmer, and we're going to be seeing rain along some of those western facing slopes along the Sierra Nevada. So that's going to make for some issues with rapid snowmelt, and it's going to overrun some of the rivers out there and some of our washways that allows for that snowmelt to run off. So we're going to see a problem with flash flooding, and we can also see some flash flooding here along the coastal ranges as well. We don't have snow in this area. This is going to be the result of excessive rainfall. So now as we take a look at what we're going to be looking at, your outlook here as we move through the middle of the month, we're going to still see it very wet along the west coast, California especially, very wet. So more rain is going to be expected across these regions. And then up here across the northern plains and in the Great Lakes, it's going to be a little bit wetter as well. That's going to be the pattern that we're going to be dealing with. Very wet weather, some snow up here across the Great Lakes. We're seeing snow across Minnesota today, and it's kind of nice because we're seeing that snow, and those temperatures are about 32, 33 degrees, and it's not sticking to the roadways or to the ground. We're seeing that snowfall has been fairly light, and that's what we like to see when it comes to the snow. And it's a sign that we're coming to the end of winter, so that is just great and wonderful news out there. Now, here is our western flood threat for the next 3 days. So today we saw that heavy rain, and we're going to see more heavy rain tomorrow. And things are going to ease up for us on Saturday. So we're going to see a little bit less rainfall. That threat will begin to wind down briefly because we will have another storm right on the heels of this guy here. So here we are as we talk about our snow forecast that we're going to be seeing across the Sierra Nevada, and we're still looking at about 4 to 6 feet out there. So a lot of snow here near Dardenville and Lake Tahoe in that region down to Porterville. We're going to be looking at some heavy snow. So still 4 to 6 feet of snow across the southern Sierra Nevada. All right, so here's our wind alerts. There's also a lot of wind with this storm as well. So we're going to be seeing high wind and some high wind warnings and a wind advisory. The wind advisory is going to be winds between 30 and 50 miles per hour, and the wind warning is going to be winds over 50 miles per hour. So we're going to be seeing a lot of wind out here with this latest storm that's bringing that heavy rain and snowfall to the west coast. And then as we take a look at a clicker that don't want to work, there we go. Now we have some winter weather to talk about over other parts of the country. And one area is the upper Midwest, Minnesota. Like I mentioned, we're seeing that snow this afternoon. We're forecasted to receive about 3 to 5 inches of snow but it's not sticking to the ground, so that is really wonderful to see. Now, as the sun goes down and those temperatures fall off a little bit, maybe it'll start to accumulate, but that just means it snowed for the better part of the day, so that just means we'll have smaller amounts of snow on the ground to deal with tomorrow with your morning commute. And we're going to be seeing that winter weather advisory over pretty much all of the upper Midwest and the northern plains here, the Dakotas through parts of Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota. But we will see a couple areas like eastern Iowa here to have a winter storm warning, and we have a small area over western Minnesota and eastern South Dakota where we're going to have a winter storm warning as well. And we're going to also see that snow continue into the rest of the day. And what we're looking at as far as our snow totals is 3 to 5 inches across this area in the light blue here. In the darker blues, that's going to be 1 to 3 inches. So all in all, not a whole lot of snow to deal with, but it will be a plowable snow. We will have a few inches of plowable snow out there. So it will make some problems on the roadways, make things kind of slick for you. And if you're walking down in pathways, please make sure you have your winter boots on, your walking boots, and that you can be safe out there. We don't want to see folks going to the hospital for slips and falls, okay? All right, so let's talk about where we're going to be seeing some more snow tonight across the Illinois area in Chicago. We didn't see a lot of snow this winter across northern Illinois, but in the Chicago area, we're looking at about 3 to 5 inches there in Chicago. Elgin is looking at 3 to 5 inches, 5 to 8 inches in Waukegan. Waukegan, excuse me, is the snowball champion in this storm system. And down to the south, Naperville, Plano, and Joliet will see 1 to 3 inches of snow. So very light snow across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes, 1 to 3 over in Gary. And let's take a look at we have as far as what we're going to be seeing over your morning hours tomorrow. Most of that snow will dissipate over northern Minnesota or over Minnesota. We will have another Alberta clipper coming from the west that's going to start to spread snow over Montana and Wyoming. And then our old storm starts to move across the Great Lakes. We'll see it still tracking across Wisconsin and over Michigan as well. So we will be still dealing with some of those flakes tomorrow morning out to the east of Minnesota. And we're going to be seeing things kind of settle down into the evening hours across the upper Midwest tomorrow. We have those snow showers coming in across the northern plains and southwestern Minnesota. But around the Twin Cities, things are going to settle down and have a nice evening for you guys. A nice dry evening if you want to go out, go watch the Wild play or do some evening activities. The weather should be just fine for you. Temperatures will be in the mid-30s across southern Minnesota, and the snow will stop across the Chicago area as well, and Milwaukee, and you will see those temperatures near 40 over in that region. So have a nice evening tomorrow, okay? If you're across the upper Midwest and the Midwest, the northern plains and the upper Midwest. Now, our severe storm threat that we're going to be seeing on Saturday is going to be over mostly Arkansas and Oklahoma. So Fort Smith, Little Rock, Pine Bluff, McAllister. I think the majority of the severe weather is going to be south of Tulsa and east of Oklahoma City. But you do have the possibility of seeing some severe weather over that region. And the primary threat is going to be damaging winds and hail. I think the tornado threat is going to be pretty low with this round, but an isolated tornado is not out of the question, but that's not the biggest concern. It's going to be damaging winds and hail, and we're going to see the opportunity for that severe weather further south as we head into Sunday. We're going to see that over Mississippi, parts of Louisiana, and southeastern Arkansas, and that primary threat is going to be a little bit more of a tornado threat down to the south. But we're going to be seeing damaging winds and hail. Heavy rain could lead to a little bit of flash flooding also. And we're going to be looking at the possibility of some snow across the northeast with our current storm that's affecting the Midwest. That storm is going to spread east as we get Friday through Sunday, and that is going to be spreading about 1 to 3 inches across the northeast as well. So Pennsylvania, New York, over there near Buffalo, we're going to be looking at that possibility of picking up a few inches of snow as we head through the day on Sunday. And then we're also going to be dealing with a nor'easter. So we're going to track a nor'easter that's going to be coming up from the south around Monday and Tuesday in the New England states. And what we're going to be looking at here is an area of low pressure will develop off the East Coast into early next week. And there is a lack of cold air to limit the snow totals along the I-95 corridor. So once again, you're going to miss out on any significant snow in New York City or Boston. And then we're going to be seeing mostly heavy rain and strong winds along the East Coast. Could disrupt travel, so that's going to be a problem with those airlines. We don't want high winds, so high winds certainly cause some travel delays as we deal with this latest nor'easter here. And here's a look at our nor'easter. We're going to be seeing our freezing temperatures where we could see snow further inland over the Adirondack mountain range, over Maine, the interior of Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, western Pennsylvania, as well as where we could see our snowfall. But along the coastal sections here from Boston down through New York City and the DC area, Philadelphia, going to see mostly rainfall. You might pick up a snowflake in the far western suburbs on the tail end of the storm system, as those nighttime temperatures might dip around freezing or slightly below freezing, and it all depends on whether or not precipitation is still occurring. So let's take a look at what we're going to be seeing on Monday and Tuesday. Here is our offshore area of low pressure. We do have that area of low pressure across the Midwest. That low is going to dissipate, and this low is going to intensify as it heads off toward the northeast there. And we're going to be seeing a couple of scenarios possible with this storm system. The scenario one is going to bring us heavy snow inland along the interior and heavy rain along the I-95 corridor. But the storm will track west of 40 in and 40 north and 70 west. That is kind of the typical track that we expect for nor'easters to give us that northeast wind off of the ocean. Hence the reason why they're called nor'easters, because of how they track and that wind's direction coming off of the North Atlantic there from the northeast down toward the southwest over the mainland. And here we are as we take a look at what we expect as far as temperatures is concerned across the northeast. Let me stand over here. Now we're going to be seeing those temperatures mostly in the low to mid 40s across the northeast on Monday. Here's our area of low pressure. We're going to see that snow occur across the interior, mostly over the higher elevations, but you see those temperatures are a bit warm for snow. So down in the lower level, the lower elevations, will see rainfall and maybe a rain and snow mix, but you will see the snow in the higher elevations of the Adirondacks and the mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire as well. And again, on Tuesday, we will see things get a little bit colder. Air works in on the northeast side on the northwest side of our storm. Again, we have those northeasterly winds blowing off of the Atlantic, but we will also see cold air coming down out of Canada. So we're going to see a northwest wind come in on the backside of this area of low pressure, and those temperatures will be just about cold enough for snow, and we will see those low to mid 30s across the northeast. So we will see that snow possibly on the back end. It's just going to depend on when the precipitation ends and when that colder air moves in after all. So let's see, do I get a click? All right, I get a click. Here is our snowfall potential in the northeast, and we're going to be seeing relatively light to moderate snow. A few areas can see heavier snow in the higher elevations of the Adirondack Mountains and the mountains across Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So our heavy rain come up. This is a long forecast. There's a lot going on in this weather forecast today, folks. So bear with me here. Almost there. So we're going to be seeing the heavy rain across the southeastern United States through Sunday. So we're dealing with some thunderstorms down here that's going to lead to some flash flooding. And we're going to be picking up about 2 to 3 inches of rain across mostly Alabama, Tennessee as well. The rest of you folks are going to be seeing about 1 to 2 inches, and some of you folks here across the Midwest will deal with about a ½ inch to an inch of rain. So a lot of rain and then snow across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, where we will see that heavy snow. The nice thing about this storm is that it's fairly quick moving, so the snow is, and its temperatures are barely cold enough for snow, so we're not seeing a lot of it stick across mostly a lot of areas, especially the cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Milwaukee, Chicago. We're not really seeing it stick to the ground because the temperatures are right about the freezing level, and during the daytime the sun's elevation is kind of high in the sky. So we're seeing a lot of radiation even through the cloud cover, and with snow falling, melting that snow as it makes contact with the surface. All right, so that rain again is going to continue, and this is that rainfall amounts. In the yellow, we're going to see that 2 to 3 inches of rain, and in the dark greens, that's going to be 1 to 2 inches of rain. So still a lot of rainfall this weekend across the southeastern and the Appalachian Mountain Range. Your flash flood threat is going to be possible, so we have kind of a minimal threat for flash flooding because we've had so much rainfall that a lot of it has soaked into the ground, so we're not seeing a lot of runoff. It's soaking into the ground pretty good. And the nice thing about this rain is that it's going to be kind of an extended period of rainfall. We're not picking up 2 to 3 inches of rain in an hour, so it's not going to lead to issues with flash flooding. But you could see some river and small stream flooding and some minor flash flooding because of some of that prolonged and this heavy, persistent rain. But it's not going to be where you get too much rain too fast. It's going to have a little bit of time to soak in, so that's good news there. And a little bit more about nor'easters, a little bit of meteorology 101 here for you guys. And what is a nor'easter? A nor'easter is a powerful low with a strong northeast wind along the East Coast. They can occur anywhere along the eastern U.S., and they are more frequent from September to April. We see these nor'easters, and they are very interesting storm. You'll hear me talk a lot about the different types of storms. You hear me say nor'easter a lot. You hear me say Colorado low or Alberta clipper, and these are types of storms. And these storms get their names basically from where they mostly form or reside or spend most of their time. That's how we classify these types of storms. So how they usually occur is nor'easters, usually a low pressure moves up the eastern seaboard, and then a high pressure is usually to the north, to the northwest of the low, and that helps to funnel in northeasterly winds there that kind of strengthen these storms and give them more to it than a typical area of low pressure. And they usually have heavy precipitation and inland flooding. They can have heavy snow, or they can be all rain. It really just depends on the time of the year that they're coming. So when we start to see these guys in April, they tend to be warmer, so we're going to see more rainfall than snow, but you will see the snow more over the mountains, over the Adirondack, and the interior portions of the Northeast. And so that is one of the ways that we see these nor'easters. That's the typical setup. And then you have what's called a type A, a Miller type A setup. And that is when the coastal low originates over the warm Gulf water. So this storm comes up off of the Gulf of Mexico and rides up the southeastern coast, and then they tend to have lighter precipitation further inland and can shift with the track. So that rainfall, that rain band that you see there can shift west and east depending on the track of the storm, and they typically have a coastal low track impact the precipitation. So wherever the low goes determines the type of precipitation, and a low like this usually going to bring you heavy rainfall along the coast, but you will see the snow more over the interior portions. So that's kind of what we're seeing with this storm that we're going to be dealing with early next week. And then you have the type B of the Miller of these nor'easters, and these ones tend to have a combination of two areas of low pressure, what we call a double barrel, we have, and actually I need to correct myself. This is the scenario that we're dealing with right now, because we have the Midwestern storm that's bringing snow to Chicago and to Minneapolis today. So we have the low pressure over the Midwest. Then we have the low pressure off the East Coast, high pressure over southern Canada. And then high pressure is bringing that air down like this, and it's kind of funneling in from the north and then turning toward the southwest. So we also get that airflow off of the low that is going from the southwest, from the southeast toward the north, and then takes that turn toward the southwest. So we're getting a northeast wind because of the low, and we're getting a northeast wind around the area of high pressure. And these typically tend to be the stronger types of nor'easter. So we're going to be seeing a lot of wind with this guy because of that two-shot influence of wind and cold air. So you're getting that cold air funneling down from Canada and across the St. Lawrence Valley. We're seeing that snow over this region, but we're getting that colder, that warmer air off of the Gulf Stream. So we're getting warm air off of the Atlantic, and that's funneling in too. And that also leads to around the freezing rain. You can see that mix right there. So you can get freezing rain, some sleet, or a mix of rain and snow. So we will have a layer of mixed precipitation because you kind of have air flowing in from two different directions. You have the warm air coming in off of the Atlantic, the cold air coming down out of Canada. So that is the scenario that we are dealing with this current storm. My name is Mr. G. That was your weather forecast. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend, guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. Also, remember, leave your likes, comments. Please feel free to subscribe to Elite Weather. All right, bye-bye.